Hi everybody, welcome to the beautiful One Bram on what is an exceptionally sunny and spring-like day. Super excited to host today's event, and thank you Lindsay for making it all possible, and the team I should say. Interestingly, we've only been given 15 minutes, so this might feel like a bit of a drive-by in some ways, but we will try and endeavour to keep to time. Thank you for the great introduction. We've been doing some phenomenal work in this area. Matt, just over to you to sort of set the scene while I try and get myself on the chair without falling off.
Absolutely. Hi everyone, and we'll whistle stop this. So we're going to focus today a little bit on our EE brand, which back in kind of 2023, early 2024, had become our prominent consumer brand. But what we found was to really expand and grow, we would need to win the household. So that became more than just having a broadband and mobile connection. That became facilitating your digital lives via EE. What we were then finding is in our frontline teams, which is our talent entry, is where our demographic, very similar to Tesco, where our demographic matched our customer base, commercial outcomes and service outcomes were just way better. So were the people outcomes for our colleagues. So lower attrition, lower absence, better engagement. However, in our entry to those positions, particularly within our call centres, we were hiring young people. It feels like a young person's job. That's the kind of vibe of it. So we started to identify areas of those teams where actually an older demographic would work better and it would add balance to our workforce. So this is what we're going to kind of talk through today.
Fantastic, thank you. So the first question is for Tania. What challenges did you face in getting your newly hired over 55 team members trained, upskilled and fully embedded in their roles, and especially around day one?
Yep, okay, so the first lesson that we quickly learnt was we had to meet them where they were at, not have them meet us where we were at. So it's probably three main areas. It was in the attraction, on the onboarding, and something that everyone's talked about, which is the leadership. From an attraction perspective, we had never actually given a lot of thought to the over 50s, really. We had people in our call centres who'd been working with us for many, many years, but never thought about the attraction. And what we had to introduce was part-time. I know that seems really obvious, but we didn't have any part-time recruitment. It was just standard full-time shifts. And that opened up a lot of things, not just over 55s, but others like carers and working parents and stuff. But we had to open up part-time, and we had to also do quite a bit prior to them starting, in terms of making sure that we were clear on their technical abilities, what they needed from a kind of adjustments perspective and all that sort of stuff, which we hadn't done previously, but prior to them starting. Then on the onboarding, standard onboarding just wasn't going to work, right? We had to rethink the whole playing field, basically. And when we did that, it wasn't just about helping it didn't just impact our people we were bringing in, but it impacted the training teams, all the support teams, the operational teams. It was a massive change for them, and we underestimated that, right? So people having to train on shifts that weren't particularly your Monday to Friday, 9 to 5s and stuff like that. We had to think about how we could increase people's digital skills and systems navigations and all the stuff that we had picked up, you know, having spoken to them as part of the attraction piece. So there was that bit, and then the leadership was, you know, we had to really be thinking about how we could be deliberately inclusive instead of living inclusivity to chance, right? We had to do it by design, not by chance. And it meant investing in our leadership population. But one of the things we really saw was psychological safety and the ability to create psychological safety. And if you've got young team leaders, it can be really hard for them to do that. And it had to be both ways, that the team leaders could be honest with those we were bringing in, saying, look, how do I help you? But also vice versa. Anything else that you think?
Yeah, well, just on the recruitment front, I would say as well that typically the way you do higher volume recruitment or ATS systems and HR software is not well set up for this demographic. It asks for a lot from the person before the company has given much back. So we had to reverse that. We've had to go quite heavy up front in our investment to drive better commercial outcomes later. The one thing I'd say about that is the cost of bad recruitment 10x is the cost of good recruitment in that space. So we had to be really conscious there.
I agree.
There's a huge part there, I think, about customer first, but also that being your authentic self in the workplace, which neatly leads me on to my next question, Tania. BT and EE now benefit from a workforce that spans 5 generations. It's unbelievable. How has that played out in terms of dynamics, collaboration, and overall performance?
So from a performance perspective, Matt talked about it. We needed to recruit in the likeness of our customers, right? Our customers are from kids straight through to 100-year-olds. So we needed to make sure that people could speak to our customers in a way that felt personal to our customer base. So we were able to using this to be able to be more specific with the talents of a particular cohort to particular areas in the customer journey. So, for example, if you're thinking about the collections or billing, it's no good putting a 17-year-old apprentice there because they don't understand what it's like to say, I've only got a tenner, I need my broadband, I'm trying to feed my kids, right? Or I've been cut off and I desperately need this to do X, Y, and Z. Or my kids are driving me insane, they need the internet so they don't bug me on holidays, right? So we were able to be much more tailored in our approach, which was awesome because what we could see is a higher first customer contact resolution rate as a result, because we were able to have much more personal conversations that got to the nub of the problem and resolved the issue for our customers. Our apprentices are awesome. They're tech savvy, they're curious. I'll use curious, they're exhausting. And let's be honest, right? But they're brilliant in the tech space. They're diagnosing stuff and they're all over it. Whereas you've got people who are potentially older with more life experience having really difficult conversations with people. It's brilliant. The other part we've seen, that's customer. The engagement just rose. I think, I can't remember who was talking about it earlier, but Steve was, I think, from, you've got that multi-generational kind of almost mentorship. Like the people in and going, no, that's how you do it, mate. Like you go like this, and then there's someone else having a conversation around how to budget with a 17-year-old. It's brilliant. You see increased engagement, which leads to some awesome attrition or non-attrition, great engagement, great lower absence. It's brilliant. It's actually really good. I'd highly recommend it.
I think it's that mixture of emotional intelligence, technical expertise, and everybody just really working out who you can learn from what and being proud about that as well.
And it's not just the ends of the spectrum, it's across the whole. There's people within Gen X, you've got millennials, it all works really, really well together. But you see it at the opposite ends of the spectrum, I think probably most obviously.
Yeah. Matt, question for you. Looking back, what positive outcomes from this hiring strategy has emerged that you didn't originally anticipate?
Yes, I think we might have a slide here to help me. Well, first of all, this was a commercial endeavour. This was not a goodness of our hearts endeavour. This was to solve a problem. So at the time, people, when hiring into our EE frontline, 1 in 2 people were leaving within the first 12 months. And that costs us probably similar to what you guys call out at Tesco, significant amounts of cost, but customer impact. Really, a person is not adding super commercial value back to the business until they've been here for 12 months. So we want to keep them. And immediately what we saw was in the like-for-like jobs where we specifically went after an older demographic, so specifically in our billing function of our call centre, we saw a 20% reduction in attrition. So that's hundreds of thousands of pounds a year when we get it right. What we also saw, though, and we weren't expecting, was a much lower absence rate. So what we found was that in this demographic, in a frontline job, when they commit to the job and our proposition's right, so especially around part-time working, then they're committed. And that influence, you wouldn't expect that so much from an apprentice, but they're then rubbing that off onto the wider demographics in there. Also, and this is more Tania's bag than mine, I can't claim that this is anything to do with me, is we saw, because we put the right people in the right jobs, we saw operational metrics improve. So first call resolution, great for us. 20% more often were we solving our customers' issue on that first call. Commercial value to us and brilliant for our customers. Now, initially, the guys took a lot longer to do it. They were spending longer on the phone, but then that becomes a management leadership coaching challenge for us. Also, we found that Net Promoter Score, again, customer is talking to somebody that they feel understands. They can't see that colleague on the phone, but they feel they understand what they're talking about. That drives up our NPS, and also it drives down our complaints. So our complaints improve by 5%. Interestingly as well, while we're talking specifically about a call centre here, we do this very well in our retail stores as well. And obviously that demographic looks very different depending on where the retail store is in the country. But where we match our retail stores, where they match the demographic, they get much better commercial outcomes, and it's in facts and figures there.
It's interesting how we started with the commercial, but there were so many other benefits that we got as a result, so many other that we just didn't expect. And I think, yes, it was great. I mean, some of those metrics are amazing, and it made, you know, our finance people very, very happy, because it did take a lot of additional effort to set it up. I think once we got it rolling, it was okay, but it's much bigger than commercial. And we've also seen them stay and build their careers within the company, because this company is so broad, you can go to different places, or just stay in the call centre, which is great too. But it's just the benefit you see from a talent pipeline perspective as well, with that knowledge. And
I think what you were saying before about our longest tenure in the contact centres.
Yeah, we have people who are 45 years plus, and they are brilliant people who have such knowledge. And you want to try something, go ask them.
Yeah.
Because they've done it before 1,000 times, and they can tell you which way to not to do it and which way to do it.
Yeah,
So,
literally been there, got the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose that transition from into like product management and product ownership, because they almost know what the customers want before the customers articulate that as well. So there's a real win there.
The customer experience, that they understand their customers from being on the front line better than anywhere. And you've got people who are having changes of career coming in, people who are looking to just re-enter the workforce. They have a lot of skills, and potentially they can bring to other parts of the business. So we really are a feeder for the wider business, which is a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
It's attrition in my world, but actually good attrition.
Yeah, and I know this isn't a question. I'm going to surprise you, Max. We've got one minute. CV-less hiring as well, I think, has been a huge win for us in terms of transitional skills.
Yep. Yeah, look, first of all, if you're hiring your frontline and you use CVs, you're getting it wrong, because there is no way that you need that. You need good assessment. What we found with this population was actually exactly what we find with our apprentice population is we need to invest in them during their recruitment experience, and we need to help them discover what skills they already have in this space. So what we were finding was, for a contact centre or retail store, we're often somebody's often transferring industry, probably because they've had a change in their life that's brought them out of a different job into ours. And all we really had to do was run sessions to say, you've got the skills, let's help you discover that and help you understand what it looks like. And then also, let's break these barriers down as to what you think a frontline job in a tech company is, because it isn't only for an 18-year-old. No. And once we did that, we saw 90% pass rate at interview. We saw 0 no-shows at interview, which is almost non-existent in this space, and people joining and being really successful.
Thank you. Final question. What advice would you give to organisations looking to tap into the experience and capabilities of workers over 55 but are unsure where to start? To both of you.
I'll take it first.
Yeah.
So, look, where we started was we looked at our internal data and looked at where there was a business case and success. So it wasn't a drive of we would like to put people here. It was a drive of we should put people here. We should try to increase this population in this specific area. And it then starts to grow. It then starts to grow from there. But it all started from a business need and business data that helped us identify the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I would say you need to be deliberate in doing this. Don't leave it to chance. And the other piece of advice would be, as I said at the beginning, is meet the people where they're at. Don't make them come meet you where you are at. Those are probably the two pieces of advice I'd take away.
And it's a journey, isn't it? And I think from being on site and managing and helping people develop their careers, but also attracting them in, it's continuing to learn and grow from our experiences, I guess.
Yeah, that dialogue is so important.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Thank you.